guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of how I bought my dream beach villa in the south of Italy. If you're new here, my name is Anise and I'm an American living in London. If you're just tuning into this series, you might want to start with my previous episodes. I don't know why you haven't been watching, but it's okay. They're linked here, and then come back to this one. Or if you're a rebel, fine. Start here. Just know that I am silently judging you. Just kidding. So we're not in Italy today, we're back in my beloved London. Quick recap of the last episode. So the real estate agents who were playing games finally gave us the last minute viewing we asked for, and we absolutely loved the property. Being a New Yorker, I felt an urgency to move fast. So I asked the agent, and remember, this is all through Giorgio, who is translating for us because English really isn't widely spoken in the South, like at all. So I asked the agent, via Giorgio, what the next step was, and he said we could pay a holding deposit, a capara, to take it off the market while we negotiated with the seller. So we paid 500 euros that day and we kept it moving. Now, Italians I've told this to look at me like I've lost my damn mind, because paying money before you've even made an offer isn't really that common in the region. It happens, but not a lot. Spoiler alert, we didn't lose the money. But I get why people were concerned. So the next day when we got back to London, I started a deep dive on YouTube into the whole process of buying property in Italy. Because if we were to send our formal written offer and it got accepted, we'd be bound to it. So I needed to know what I was doing, especially being a foreigner with zero experience in the area. And so for 8 days straight, I learned everything and anything I could about the geometra, the notaio, the visura catastale. It all sounds very sexy in Italian, but trust me, this is the boring procedural stuff. I'll keep the technical stuff light in this episode, but if you guys want an in-depth video explaining each step of buying property in Italy, let me know in the comments, and your girl's 100% got you, okay? Anywho, as I was doing all my research, the agents were really pressuring us to send the offer, but I had a lot of questions like, what's the deal with the septic tank, the hole that's under the toilet, in the bathroom? And why did the owner start a renovation on this property and then stop? Was it a money thing, or were there hidden issues? It was slightly frustrating because I emailed the agent a whole list of questions and they'd respond with like these very simple one-line answers. But here's the thing. In Italy, there's not really a thing as the buyer's agent. You have an agency that lists a property on behalf of the seller, and when you, as the buyer, come along, the agency now technically represents you too. And if you buy the property, you have to pay them a fee, on top of the one they're already getting from the seller. But clearly, their loyalty kind of leans towards the seller because that's who they started the process with. So, like most agents, the ones that we were working with weren't super invested in helping us. They just wanted to make the sale. But that is where the notaio comes in. In Italy, the notary, or the notaio, is a neutral public official who oversees the purchase transaction and makes sure everything is like lawful, done in accordance with regulation, and everything's all gravy. The buyer gets to choose the notaio as a kind of a protective measure. But again, hardly any of these notaios in the South speak English, so finding one was going to be an uphill battle for me. Just for peace of mind, I reached out to an English-speaking Italian lawyer. I'm just gonna say, it's one thing to rely on YouTube to learn how to upholster a chair or like stain a table. It's a whole other thing to learn how to buy property in a foreign land where you'll have real liabilities like taxes and the whole 9 yards. So even though you don't need a lawyer to buy property in Italy, it helped to have a third party reaffirm a lot of what I had already learned on YouTube. And I also consulted with some English-speaking accountants that I found through YouTube. I'm telling you, your girl was a full-blown enrolled student in YouTube University. After a few weeks of research and consultations, I finally found my unicorn, a notaio based near the property who was conversational in English. So after some revisions of the template proposal the agents gave us, we sent back a formal written offer at around 12 to 15% under the listing price. By this point, I had looped in the notaio to conduct due diligence and review the property's documents. And surprise, surprise, the documents were a hot ass mess. This is actually very common with beach villas in southern Italy. So back in the 60s and 70s, people would just build homes illegally on the beach. Years later, the government started issuing what they called a concessione or condone, basically saying, okay, we see what y'all done here. Pay us a fee and we'll let it slide. Boom, the property's legal now. So this property had a concessione, but the renovations they started changed the floor plan. So like windows and doors weren't matching the property map. That is a problem. So our notaio told the seller, you need to update these cadastral maps and apply also for a certificate of habitability, which is key if you want to rent out a property. And as we'd be buying a property for investment purposes, this certificate is important to us. But the seller didn't want to do all that. First off, updating the map costs money, and once you update it, there's a 2 to 3 month window you have to apply for this certificate of habitability. But a house that's not even halfway complete, like this one, without plumbing, without electrics, it would never get that certificate. So the seller was not down. Technically, we could have bought the property anyway. A sale can go through without that certificate if both parties agree to waive it. For instance, the current owner of the property did just that when she bought it back in 2017. I saw it outlined in the property deed, but we didn't want to take that risk, especially if international owners planning to rent out the property during high seasons. We wanted everything to be as above board as possible because while it wasn't super common for our specific municipality to be strict on inspections and checks, if they ever decided to start cracking down in the future, who you think they're gonna crack down on first? The locals, their homies, or the international people who they assume got money and can pay bigger fines? I'm not even kidding. When the notaio started encouraging the agent to do things properly, the agent legit turned to us and was like, y'all should get a different notaio. Sir, come again? Fast forward to 2.5 months after we first viewed the property. The whole thing fell through. The seller didn't like our offer, but more importantly, she wasn't down to update the documents. In fact, the agency actually lost the whole listing because the seller ended up selling it privately to her cousin. The reality is, especially on the beach, a lot of sales happen really informal like this because people don't want to get held up by the red tape, and there's a lot of red tape. Thank goodness we got our €500 deposit back. The agency kept trying to sell us other listings, but I was kind of over working with them. And while the dream for that specific property came to an end, the silver lining was that I was so much more knowledgeable now about the process for buying on the beach in Italy, and I wasn't gonna give up on the dream. And then, enter Anna. So Anna is someone who Giorgio's mom referred us to when Giorgio's mom heard all about the issues we were having trying to buy property. And because there's no official buyer's agent in Italy, I didn't really know how to define Anna's role when we were first connected. But essentially, what you would call her is a property finder. At this point, we definitely didn't want a gut renovation anymore. So we expanded our budget to about 150,000 euros, hoping to land somewhere between 110 and 120,000. I was checking Italian property websites constantly, mostly Immobiliare and Idealista, but the vast majority of listings I saw weren't great. They had weird layouts, they were super old and dated inside, and not in a cute retro way. Then I found one with a lot of potential. It was cute. Listed at 135,000, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, outdoor space, roof terrace, a little shed in the back that I was thinking maybe could be made into an office or a guest room. The reality is the property was really small. When I'm browsing for properties, your girl is paying attention to vibes. Bae, on the other hand, doesn't want to see a single photo of the property before seeing the floor plan and the specs. When he saw that the property was 62 square meters, that's about 670 square feet, he was like, For context, we used to live in a 1-bedroom flat in London, and that was 60 square meters. So yeah, the property was small. But when you're looking for weeks and weeks and you can't find anything decent, you want to at least check out the one that has the good vibes and that falls within budget. There was this beautiful covered outdoor space in the back that I was hopeful could make the villa a really cool indoor-outdoor living kind of property. But when Anna went and viewed it for us, she confirmed that the space definitely felt tight. We already live in a flat in London, we don't need a small space in Italy. All the while, Anna was also sending us options. Some I had already seen online, but also a lot that weren't listed, which again, word of mouth listings are very common for the area. Eventually, she sent us this one off-market listing that was slightly over budget, but y'all, I fell in love. 3 beds, 2 baths, a big roof terrace, a lush backyard, and it came furnished with furniture that wasn't hideous. It was already functioning as a family home / holiday rental, and most of the paperwork was in order. There were just 2 small issues. A driveway, well, that's a pro, especially in a beach town that gets busy during the high season. But this driveway wasn't yet on the cadastral map. There was also this gorgeous sunroom in the back of the property, but it needed to be registered because on the original property map, it was actually a veranda that they had put walls up on and converted into a sunroom. The thing is, these owners were down to fix it all. They were down to get the documentation up to snuff. So Bay and I were like, let's go! We started planning our next trip to Italy to see it in person right away, looking at flights, everything. And that's where I'm gonna leave us for today. In the next episode, I'll take you back to Italy with me and get you up to speed on this gem of a property that Anna delivered to us. If you've been enjoying this series so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to level up on this channel, so go ahead and support us, sis. Give a like, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts about all the properties we've seen so far. Until next week in Italia, ci vediamo!